Welcome, members, to this DGFirst Management Committee this morning. Before we begin the business of the meeting, I'm very delighted that we have Peter Roberts here this morning, and I'm delighted to be presenting a certificate to him. Peter has been Harbour Master at Kakubri for 12 years, and during his time has made some significant improvements that have contributed to the efficient operation of this facility. It is one of the busiest harbours in Scotland. Peter has been successful in gaining the International Diploma for Harbour Masters, which is acknowledged in the industry as a significant qualification for those engaged in harbour management. Gaining this qualification bears testimony to Peter's hard work. The knowledge that he has gained will be of great use to both him and the service as we continue to develop the operational and legislative aspects of managing all our harbours. We are very fortunate to have someone in our authority with such a qualification, and I know that particularly Kakubri really appreciate all the work Peter does to manage that harbour very efficiently. So we have Peter here, and I'd just like to come up, and I think good. Thank you, members. We'll now start the meeting as is. Do you have any apologies? I do have one from Colin Wyper, whom I don't know if you all know, but he's broken his leg. So he's in Dumfries Hospital. I don't know any others.
I haven't actually got any other apologies unless members are able to advise of Councillor Peacock, Councillor
Councillor Peacock.
Chair, is it true that he came off his bike when he slipped in an overbanding in one of the patches?
I will look into that. I hope not. Time will tell. I don't know. We'll find out more about the accident. So that's fine. And do we have any declaration of interest in the item? Just to inform you, I have two items of urgent business for us to consider at the end of the agenda. I've asked the director to arrange for a presentation on school meals, and that is to do with the problem of horse people. And then a verbal update on the impact on DGFirst of the police and fire reform at the end. We'll then go to the minute of the meeting of the 30th of December. Is that a correct minute there? Which will then lead us on to item 4, which is the DGFirst Revenue Budget Monitoring Report. And I think note up to the end of December, where it's now gone. The department are predicting that they will break even for the year, but we're still in the winter and things could change. And I just think members to note that maybe here, I prompt that a minus indicates an underspend. I get a minus indicates an underspend. And note also that the apparent underspend on home care has reduced significantly, and a further one-off transfer of 135,000 made social work services. This is the saving from vacancies during the early part of the Barker if he has anything further to add to his report. In that case, members, have you anything like ask on Councillor Driver?
Thanks very much, Chair. It's just on what you mentioned about the winter services, just in case there's any issues with snow and that over the next few weeks, considering what we had last week. I mean, we have got the resources in place to cover any eventuality. Yeah?
Wrong button. Certainly we have we have rather more salt than we have had in past years because it's been a mild winter. We're fully prepared for anything that could be thrown at.
Councillor Hissop?
It's with regard to 3.8, the parts and grounds maintenance services forecast overspend by 106,000. Are you hoping to get that down? And if so, how do you plan to do that? And is it a case of that we're delaying work now until the next financial year? And on 3.9, has there been any drop in income caused by point Chair brought up about force meters?
Chair, if I may, I'll ask Mr. Dempster to answer the first part of that, but at the risk of spoiling one of my staff's presentation, we have seen a slight decrease in numbers.
Mr. Dempster?
Thank you, Chair. Simple answer is no, we're not delaying any. We are in a period of time just now through neighbourhood services and grounds whereby it's the winter activities, working cemeteries and doing all the sort of residual activity that happened at the back end. That is continuing. We are endeavouring to work down the figure to as low as physically possible, but still maintaining the current service standard.
Thank you, Chair. With regards to the minutes of the last meeting, we did agree under 4.2 that there would be a more detailed information on parts and grounds. And just coming to what Councillor Hislop was saying with regard to the overspend, maybe can that be incorporated in the detailed information that's coming forward so that we know exactly where it's going. The other point that I wanted to raise as well was with regard to the 134,000 that's gone to social work. When has that gone? Did that go in December?
Chair, if I may, certainly we will expand on paragraph 3.8. Entirely my fault that it isn't in the report, an oversight. The 135,000 transfer.
Councillor Dickel?
Thank you, Chair. Just on the waste route review, would you consider that it's been a success both financially and operationally?
I think I'd probably say it was like the Purett say, good in parts, not in others. It wasn't as successful as I believed it would be. Actually only been able to fleet one vehicle, one crew. We had anticipated, but it turns out that operation, actually doing the routes real life rather than on a computer, showed us to be slightly
I do think, to be fair, that is the point of the route. Councillor?
Thanks, Chair. Just a couple of things, Bill. 3.10, I'd just like a kind of assurance that working so under, with members of staff short, isn't it putting existing staff under added pressure, probably not needed. And in the same 3.10, just an explanation about why there's an under-recovery of income. Is that because there was no income available, or is it we've just not been able to get the money in?
If I can take the second part first. The income is very much demand-led. With the current financial state, we're not seeing house building, translating, construction. So there is less activity. It is a concern that the vacancies in the service are causing some stress at the moment, but we hope to address it.
Thanks, Sarah. Just coming back to 3.5 and the end of the second sentence. The main reason for this increase in employment is supply staff to allow adequate crewing levels to be maintained, in particular in the industrial area due to the recent industrial dispute. Now, my understanding from the last meeting, or the meeting before, was that it wasn't actually a dispute as such. It was some sort of disagreement, but certainly not a dispute.
In the sense that it wasn't a formal industrial strike. We did refer to it at the time in an attempt to avoid the word dispute.
So it's maybe further down the line under 3.5, but with regard to the waste collection service, now we're moving from the current waste policy to the new waste collection, which will have roadside recycling. When will we see a paper coming forward on cost implications for that for this service?
I think the short answer is when we've worked out what they are. I'm hoping that that will be in 2 months, but we are still determining the best way to apply them. It's a work in progress. I could arrange for a verbal update on the route that we're going down, but it would be, at this stage, wouldn't have financial.
I just wonder if members want to have a verbal update at the next meeting of how the rolled out. And I quite understand that there's no point having a proper report. Good for us as management to know what the and how you're going to deal with them. Councillor Driver?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it would be appropriate, for a joint one with PHE, because they'll be the commissioning side of things anyway, and then and FES committee may be the appropriate committee for that to actually go to before we actually get any information from DGFirst being the deliverers of that particular service.
Well, I think that as a management committee, we're probably more interested in how we're actually going to deliver the mission from PHE. So that's really what we're concerned with. But I'll maybe take a bit of advice from Mark.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's fair to say that Planning, Housing and Environment Service set out the guidance for the new service and for this committee to determine how best to deliver that. I do understand that Planning, Housing and Environment Service members would probably be interested in it, but it more properly falls within the remit.
So I'll just bring them in. So can I just say that we would like an update at the next meeting. Expect a proper report.
Councillor It'd probably be covered in the report that you're going to bring to us, but I just have one concern on the new waste policy. Will we still have the smaller wagons covering the more rural areas, or single axle ones, or will it be having these big things?
I think that's another yes and no. Certainly for the residual waste, there will be no change in the vehicles that collect the residual waste. We're still working out the operational details of the vehicle to make the new part of the collection.
Just on that, I mean, around us we have problem. It's great having these smaller wagons, just the single axle ones, because they can turn and don't scuff up the tarmac. But when we've had the big ones with the double axle, we have had serious problems with them turning.
I think we'll look forward to that report, and then we'll look forward to the final application. So I believe we've bought quite a lot of new wagons for waste uplift, but not. That is quite interesting. Do No, oh, Councillor Ferguson.
Thanks, Chair. I'm just wondering how the department view the increased competition, if you like, because some of the private waste collection agencies are getting increasingly sophisticated machinery to do their collections. Would that impact on how we deliver as a service?
Chair, I think one of the challenges just now is Councillor says, a rather cutthroat market out there at this time, particularly on the commercial waste, and we are seeing considerable challenges in maintaining the same level of market that we previously had. So it's something that we're very aware of, and we're taking that into account with the method of operation that we will be adopting through the zero waste. So again, that will be further developed as we bring forward the proposals. But yes, at this time, it is a somewhat challenging market for us.
Just one last thing, it's accommodation actually at 3.7. I think through the director we need to commend the staff for the efficient way they actually conduct the business in home care. To make savings and still deliver the service is actually a credit to them, so I think that needs to be recorded.
So can I just take you to the recommendations, member, which is to note that based on the first 9 months expenditure, the revenue budget is projected to break in 2012. Move on to item 5, which is the Trading Operations Monitoring Report. Again, this is for the period ended 31st of December. So that's the same as the previous one. And the department are currently predicting that the trading operation will return a small surplus profit of £500. Is there anything you want to highlight in this report, Barker?
No, thank you, Chair.
Members got go to the recommendation that note that based on the first 9 months of trading operation currently projected return of surplus. Item 6, DGFirst Capital Expenditure Programme for 2012-13. And this again covers the period up to the end of December. I think if you note in the appendix, you will see that all the projects are underway. Some are completed and some are not, but they will be completed by the end of the financial year, and you are quite happy with that.
Yes, Chair, I'm quite confident that we will complete all the projects financial year.
Thanks, Chair. I'm looking at Appendix 2 in the last proposed DGFirst Property Maintenance Programme, Information Officer to accommodate the community safety team. Now, obviously, there are the big asset plan going on for the whole of the council with the guards offices and things like that. And I'd be concerned that we have to look at building something like this within Carrigan Towers when there potentially could be other areas where the community safety team could be facilitated. I'm just wondering if that's been looked at.
Sorry. Council as a whole is, as you know, looking at rationalisation of its property asset. We are moving out of other offices, which will free up space for other departments, for example, in Chambers. So this is within the existing footprint of Carrigan Tower. A restructuring of the space within the building.
Yes, thanks, Chair. So, Director, there will be other costs, of course, for transportation, moving things about. That's purely just to restructure within Carrigan Towers, am I right?
That's the cost of the physical works to the building. The community safety budget includes funding for the one-off costs of
Thank you. It's with regard to security at Garden Tower. I see we're spending 30,000 on number plate recognition. In view of the fact that we're spending this money, and I think it's wisely being spent, will it reflect?
I'm not an insurance expert, I have to say. It will certainly not increase our insurance costs. It may well be more of a cost avoidance measure rather than directly affect our premiums because of the way that
Can I just ask what make are the four-wheel drive vehicles?
they're Skoda Yetis.
With that, we go to the recommendation. Point 1, the DGFirst Operational Assets Programme and the current first property. Now, if we could go to item 7, which is called road drainage, review of road maintenance operations. I think we've got Mr. Clemmy here this morning. Report this is, there are 2 recommendations here, which are both go back to planning, housing, environment. But I think Mr. Clemmy, if you want to add anything to the report or highlight anything.
I'm quite happy with the report as it is, Chair. Thank you.
Barbara?
Thanks. Maybe not to add to the report, maybe to enhance the report. Obviously, one of the things that affects our roads is water going onto the man underneath the roads, and when it frosts up, pushes up the tar, and then thaws out, and then we get the potholes. And prevention, in my view, is better than cure in a lot of these particular areas. I'm just wondering here if there is an appropriate committee that we could say to them to assist with the gully emptying and ditch cleaning and things like that, that we could actually look at a way of employing people in some sort of job development program that allows people to come off the dole and into a form of work that will be very much appreciated. And I'm just thinking about, in particular, the ditch cleaning at the sides of in particular country lanes and roads and C roads and B roads. I'm just wondering if we can maybe enhance the recommendation to look at the appropriate officer to see if this can actually be done through some form of funding from a back-to-work scheme that I'm sure the government will have in place.
Chair, if I may, I understand the point you're making, Councillor Driver. It is one of the things that officers are currently looking at within the administration's budget session proposals. There is a sum of money for community commissioning. One of the things that might be considered as a pilot under that banner is that sort of work, particularly in the more remote community. But, sorry, I have to say that we are at a very early stage of that work. I would hope to bring back either to the committee or to policy and resources report on pilots.
It's just that I remember reading that I think it was Birmingham City Council had taken on, I think it was 60, I think they called them linesmen or roadsmen or something like that within the town of Birmingham. And they had improved the roads and pavements and drainage actually within that particular area. And that was done through a scheme from the UK government that can actually provide funding for that. So this might be on top of what's been put in place of the administration's budget.
Sadly, the additional funding from the UK government was for English. So, I'm bitterly disappointed that that isn't. However, parish lengthsmen, highway rangers, there's a whole host of names, and that is certainly one of the things that we're looking at. Not just dealing with roads issues, but also looking at environmental issues, general tidiness.
just on following up on that, when would you expect us to what that happen? So often we get these ideas and
Yes, I think the plan is to evolve the process up to the end of this financial year, start to look at the schemes over the first 3-month period of next year with a view to developing a 6-month trial phase for the proposals and then a 3-month evaluation of that.
can I just ask a question as well, which is about the proposal to bring in a sort of legal. What number is it? Section 99 on page 29, and I just wondering how that's actually going to be done. Force it with landowners. What are the powers that are there?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Firstly, it is an offence for a landowner to issue water onto the public road. We don't want to go out and chase landowners. We want to enter into a negotiated settlement if at all possible. The procedure that we're hoping to put in place is a staged process from A to E, and we would actually start with a kind letter to the landowner or a pleasant letter, which then ultimately would escalate to a letter to the local constabulary. Then we would send a letter to the landowner to say they were serving notice on them. And then finally we would serve notice. In some instances, if there's no reaction from the landowner, the local authority can actually carry out the works themselves, recharge the landowner, recover the costs from the landowner accordingly. But I think it's a softly approach that we want to develop, and hopefully most landowners, once we start working with them and they see the staged approach, will actually come on board and work with us in solving a lot of these matters.
Leader?
It's under the Section 99 Road Act as well. I was at a meeting last Friday morning with regard to CAP reform, and one of the guys there was Seamus Donnelly, who's a SAC advisor. He says every 30 to 40 years does lead into this. One of the problems we have is the fact that in the past we've always had a drainage scheme for agriculture, whereby they have had grant facilities to actually improve drainage. He was actually saying one of the reasons we have more occurrences of flooding because the topsoil actually acts as a sponge. Because we're not draining our land efficiently now, the sponge isn't there to actually uptake that rainfall when it does happen. Maybe we should, as a council or as a committee, be recommending to PH&E that they lobby the government to look at putting in a land drainage scheme so that would maybe stop the water coming onto the road. Maybe something that we could look at.
Thanks, Chair. Welcome this report. As I say, it's in especially in a mixed ward like I've got, the rural roads, I say, they do have a lot of problems with the drainage water coming there because of the ditches. But I'm also finding it more and more in the urban part of the ward, the town area, that due to the drains being blocked, the water just seems to congregate in certain areas. Like, I'm just wondering how often we actually clean out the drains, because there's one in particular, I think Mr. Barker will know about it, say Gilbray Road there. It's a rather steep hill. If we've got a lot of rain there, the water it's not going down the drains, it just runs right from the top of the road down to the bottom and gathers outside the library and the school. And it's been really noticeable in the last couple of years, especially with the amount of rainfall that we've been getting. As I say, I'm just wondering how often we actually clean out the drains, because it's becoming a problem throughout the whole of the ward, not just in rural areas.
Chair, if I may, I'll answer that one. Yes, I do know the road you're referring to. It's a very steep road, and that's why the water rushes past the gullies. We empty our gullies at least once a year. The drain runs between, collect the water from the gullies. We tend to do that on a reactive basis. The report suggesting looking at changing approach. Final comment, I think, certainly climate change is creating more frequent, shorter, more intense storm events, which our drainage systems are really not designed to cope. One of the other aspects of this work, policy recommendations that would new work.
Excuse me. Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of things for Charles or you, Bill, about the enforcement situation, and I appreciate the way we take this forward. Normally for existing flooding areas, you know, we know about, and if we had a flooding problem before coming off farmland, and that all of a sudden then becomes a housing development with an even better system of getting the water away from the houses, a lot of that's going down at the roads. Can we get an assurance somewhere how we work together between this department, the planners and everyone else to make sure that the new builds are actually fit for purpose in terms of drainage? And should we, I'm chucking this in the ring here, as a planning condition, actually say that part of the factoring fee should be for clearing these drains, because they don't always seem to be happening within very specific schemes around, or areas around about the borough here in particular, which are now flooding country roads, which of course is now on the fringe of the town. So it's a different problem. It's the same problem but a different cause, I'm trying to say. And how do we address that?
Thank you, Chair. Most, if not all, planning applications include the requirement to have a drainage impact assessment. Planning and building standards is a service that obviously process the planning applications. They work very closely with structural commissioning, includes the flood risk management. So there is not only a drainage impact, flood risk assessment undertaken concept. After that, you move into the design of the drainage associated with the road network. That's done by my development team, part of the construction formal design, check, and there have been occurrences where that hasn't been required.
Can I come back in? Yeah. No, the question I really want was answered here is that how then do we monitor that the factors who are taking money off the householders are actually doing it? Because that's a different legal challenge to tackling individual householders. It's tackling a big builder, big developer, who's just quite frankly no abiding by the conditions of the planning application.
That's a matter for planning and building standards. I can discuss that further with you out with this.
Councillor Diggle?
Thank you, Chair. I welcome the softly approach with respect to landowners. May I ask that you consider, when developing this approach, that you certainly notify and possibly involve the relevant community council in that approach. The second point I'd like to make is, although the drains have been emptied once a year, it seems to me that on quite a number of occasions that the connecting underground pipes aren't actually being taking the water away. Comment on that.
As I said before, we have tended in the past to react to those sorts of circumstances rather than being proactive. One of the things that we suggest in the report is that we look at high-risk areas, how we either modify the arrangements, how best we carry out proactive maintenance, prevent flooding.
Thanks, Chair. Coming back to the sides of roads and country lanes, but one of the issues that we've seen over the last few years is utilities placing certain cables and things like that at the side of the road. Now, whether they place them at the right depth or not is a question certainly for them to answer. but it can cause problems with drainage on the side of roads. And I'm just wondering what work's been done between yourselves and utilities to see if they could actually do some of the work themselves whilst either putting cables in or maintaining cables.
That's quite an idea. We haven't had that sort of discussion, but it's certainly something that Scottish Water makes the point.
Can we go to the recommendation, which is at 2.1 to recommend to the Planning, Housing, Environment Services the introduction of a risk-based procedure for the prioritisation of planned drainage work, as described in paragraph 4.1. And then at 2.2, recommend to Planning, Housing, Environment Services Committee the development of a more formal process that reflects the requirements of the Scotland Act 19, where it relates to land.
Perhaps we can maybe add one more, Chair, which is on the discussion of the community-based pilot schemes that you were talking about, and maybe have a report back in. I think you said there was going to be a 3-month initial and a 6-month sort of pilot stage, but at the end of that pilot stage, maybe a report back to see how that actually went.
Certainly, if the community commissioning work affects work within the remit of DGFirst, bring a report back. At the moment, we're at a very early stage in developing that, so I'd be loath to say I'll bring a report back and then not be able to. So we will bring back a report if the work that is being done affects our operations.
That driver? Yep. Right, that's great. Right, we move on to item 8, which is road maintenance program. Progress update. Again, Mr. Clemmy will do this and that, and the report is self-explanatory. But I have one additional raise, which is the Planning, Housing and Environment Services Committee asked that their chair and vice chair meet with first vice chair and chair to discuss road maintenance progress, and that meeting took place last Monday. The note of the meeting I'm going to circulate. Now you've probably already got it. Jan, you got it from PH&E.
It's the same one.
It's the same one. So I just propose a quick 10-minute break so you can have a look at it, and then I think we as a committee need to discuss that. And the director has a short presentation which will add to the note that's going around it. So it is 11:10, so see you back here at 25 past. Just so that you know that our chair and vice chair and a director have meetings every 2 or 3 months with PH&E, social work and education as our commission partners. And I think this has actually been quite a good thing. We've had a report of what we discussed and what the problems were, and I think I would intend that that's probably what we'll do when we have those meetings in the future, so that you as members of the management committee are aware of any problems that are coming the department.
I think that's quite a good idea, but the only problem we've got with that is, sitting PH&E, I think about 80% of the stuff that was brought up at PH&E question-wise, stuff that's more or less the delivery. As I say, so this seems to be duplicating. When we have these meetings, it just seems to be a duplication of everything. It seems to go on and on Thursday, and say about 80% questions, nothing to do with the First Committee.
Sorry, Emma, do you have anything to add to it, or anything that you want to raise?
Philip?
No, thank you, Chair. I've nothing to add.
Councillor Driver.
Yeah, it's just for my understanding. I mean, certain potholes that have appeared over the last few months seem to have been deeper and wider than what we've experienced over the last few years, certainly within the ward. And I'm just wondering if there's an issue with the compound underneath the tar, or is it just time that's actually, you know, or the type of weather we've had? It's just, there just seems to be so much deeper, certainly in the last few months, than I've seen before.
I think it's true to say that the answer to your several questions is yes. We have two sorts of roads, effectively. Those roads, as we describe it, organic, grown up as engineered roads. An analogy for the organic ones used to me back decades. They're a bit like a sugar cube. Give a sugar cube a sharp tap with a spoon, it will crumble into nothing. So that's part of the issue. Also, as the second wettest in Scotland for the last 100, we have seen a lot more water damage. So it's a combination of the age of some of the paved areas, the conditions that we've recently, and what, as you say, what's underneath them. Some of our roads were surface dressed and there's 150 years of surface dressing gravel without any sort of stroke.
Just ask that with permanent, first time permanent patch. How long, on average, how long would you expect with permanent?
I seem to be equivocating an awful lot today. It depends. If it is first-time permanent repair in a relatively new piece of surfacing, then it will last as long as the surface. Typically, we'd reckon on at least 8 years. Hope for better than that.
Thank you, Chair. In the report on page 2, there's a section there talking about pothole repairs are prioritised on a risk basis. Can you tell me what that actually means?
Certainly. It might be better if I could show you a presentation. There's a slide that will make that a little clearer.
Is that presentation being done today?
Thank you, Chair. We're seeing more and more problems on the roads outside farms, and obviously the farms are using bigger vehicles, one thing or another. Is there any, do you use any particular, a different compound or a more dense compound in those situations than others or not?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Outside farms and farm areas, we tend to use asphalt, which is less affected by, I'm trying to think of a polite word, mess spread around in farms.
Sorry, but does it cope with the turning of these bigger and bigger farm vehicles on a day-to-day basis? You know, the straight stretches.
Yeah, yes, it does, yes.
Leader?
Yeah, point someone maybe clarify, just for my own knowledge, under 4.3, the first quarries closed over Christmas holidays. Just wondered when the Christmas holidays are. And the other one, are we getting the works programmes through quick enough to allow us to actually start on the 1st of April? Because at the PH&E committee there was a 3-month notification period. So have we enough work to start our works from the 1st of April? Because I think last year there was a sort of slight delay because it came through.
Thank you. Yes. My apologies for that. I corrected that at least once, but it's slipped back in. It, just on that point, because of the quarry closure and the snow, we only had about half the number of working days in January, which does impact on performance. We did have a slow start to this financial year structural maintenance programs, and to prevent that happening again, we borrowed a member of staff from Planning and Environment Service and moved somebody internally to work full-time on the coming year's program. So yes, we should be off to applying for weather, etc.
Just on that, can I just 5.5 therefore proposed to strengthen the current management arrangement? Is that programming as well?
Yes, it's to introduce a small team within the centre who will be doing planning and programming work. At the moment, I can't continue to borrow staff from Harriet, and I have other work that my member of staff is doing. So it's a short-term issue that we would expect that over the course of the next year to be able to move resources around, provide that for within existing resources. But at the moment, and certainly with the additional funding that we've been given, I think it's important to invest in service.
Thank you, Chair. I remember in 1963 my teacher saying, pay attention and this might come in useful. 50 years later it has. It was to do with water and how water creates a lot of the problems. And I'm actually wondering here, whilst we focus on the potholes, but the potholes are the end product for the damage done by other things, do we tie in the two together so that we don't have the road blocked or closed twice? Once to do the maintenance or get rid of the water that's causing the problem, and then another time to actually patch the road, or which do we do first? Do we have a coordinated approach to that, right? Or do we just we'll patch the road and then we'll come and look at the drainage problem later? Because normally these things are caused by one of two things, isn't it? It's heavy wear by heavy vehicles, right? Or the number of vehicles, or it's water damage in one form or other, either rainwater or ice. So how do we approach this? Have we got a coordinated approach? I think that's the question.
Simple answer is yes, we do. Where it's apparent that there is a drainage issue, we will attempt to address both the drainage and the surfacing at the same time, because, as you suggest, having one closure is easier than multiple.
Thank you.
Can I just take us over to the last four, which is the new plant allocations, and just having a discussion prior to the meeting. And the hot box allocation, mobile hot box, be ordered. I hope that's done. And I just wondered what they both do. Are they work together, or?
They are different pieces of kit, but they do the same job. They keep the material hot for longer. The static hot boxes are depots to allow us, instead of traditionally might happen, a patching squad going in 1.5 tons of material from a quarry to do that day's work. We'll be getting lorry loads of material delivered, contained in depot at working temperature. There is no delay in having to go and keep going and getting. Equally, to get the best out of our patches, mobile hot, which hold more material than.
So just to understand, how much the mobile?
Actually, it depends on the size of the hot box. We're looking at two different types at the moment. We're looking at a larger one that will hold days patching material, and we're looking at smaller ones that might be useful for some of the reactive patching works that we carry out. That's why there's been a delay. We're looking at both of those types. We're just about to order. There's a few pieces just to tie up, but we're about to order any day now. They can hold about 5-6 tons in a day's patching material.
Right, I see we're only ordering one. Where are we going to base that?
We already have one, and this is going to supplement the one that we already have. The plan is we've got a jet patcher and a velocity patcher. The plan is to swap those between areas. So if you've got the hot box, you haven't got the jet patcher.
Thanks, Charles.
With regard to point C workforce training, this will be an ongoing process. What sort of numbers have we got trained at the moment? How many do you envisage having? How often do we have to update them?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We've had quite a number of drivers trained already, mainly in trailer training. There's a real deficit in the number of drivers we had that could operate trailers as well. The plan is, with the training, is to actually have a comprehensive training session once we've got all the new equipment. And it's not only going to be the manual workforce that we're going to include, but also the technical workforce. And it's about the relationship between the two, communications and working together. Firstly, in identifying the defects and a suitable repair. So there are certain parts of the manual workforce training that have certain triggers. The training has got to be renewed every so often. But certainly the bulk of the money will be spent in a comprehensive training period, which will start next month or so, actually, now that all the new equipment's been delivered.
So this will show up in the performance report as well. When will that be?
The programme date for a report on the business plan KPIs includes that in June.
Thanks, Ian. I'm looking at the software development, and obviously we've all got a lot of confidence in IT. I'm just wondering how confident you are that this new software is actually going to do what it says on the tin or the pot box.
Knowing the people who are actually working on the project, I'm very confident that it will provide us with the right tools to improve performance.
Right. Now, I think if we just go through the paper handed out regards planning, house environment, first management meetings. The reason that was asked for was because there were concerns raised at yes, apparently relating to pothole filling and roads maintenance programs. That was the nub of the reason for the meeting. The notes are there were taken of the things that were discussed. I'm just quite happy to go through the headlines, and if you've anything to ask on those, got here to answer. I hope. So we'll just, I think, which so the first one is time spent on maintenance. I think the answer's there, but is there anything you want to supplement on that? Councillor Driver.
Yeah, obviously the East region is really important because I'm in the Far East, as they would class it in the region, and we have seen some delays in some of the work that's going on there. I'm just wondering how far on we are with ensuring that the proper resources in place to carry out the maintenance.
That actually relates back to to item 8 on today's agenda. Paragraph 5.5 is asking for additional resources to enhance our programming and delivery of work. As an interim measure, as I mentioned before, we've borrowed a member of staff from Planning and Environment Service, and I've redeployed somebody within the Road Service to work on the coming year's programme so that we don't have that delay that we had in
That's the last bullet point there, the development of multi-year programmes, that must schemes slipping after works programmes being. Some ward members are saying they're not getting their programmes. I have to say I've had programmes. Why? You do send them out to all.
We do. I'm surprised to hear you say that, Chair. When we sent out the first version of the Works programme, we actually asked every member how they would like to receive it, whether they would like it electronically or on paper. And as far as I know, everybody has been receiving them. We've certainly been sending them out. I can't say that unless members tell me.
I think that is a very useful book because it does tell you what's happening, where it is on the. Councillor Ferguson.
Yes, thanks. I was one of the councillors that actually raised that, but I used to get them, and I got one this month. So I'm assuming, Bill, that if there's no planned maintenance, we don't get an email. Is that
correct?
Yeah. So that's probably because they're doing all the repairs in the Easter region at the time. Yeah.
Chair, I wonder if you'll indulge me in one particular part of my ward, which is really emotive. It's the cemetery at Langham. He's wondering that Cemetery Road at Langham. He's wondering if that's still in plan for March this year. It's pretty emotive, and it's been ongoing for a couple of years now. And the final journey shouldn't be, rocking all over the place like horse and cart.
I don't have my programme with me. I left it in the car, sadly. I will check and get back to you, Councillor.
Right, going to the effectiveness of first-time permanent reinstatement. Covered that earlier on, so they are to be effective, and you have had most of them effective. You've got quite a good stat, I think.
Yes, we've undertaken over 10,000 first-time permanent repairs, and a handful of those have failed, and that's usually been due to the condition of the road surface round about the patch.
If it fails, then go back and do the same again, or do you do better or bigger job?
Usually, if it if it is a matter that the condition of the road is causing the problem, then that would be part of our surfacing program.
I think the other thing that came up was that you've got new signs, quite long, not less. They are oh, they're in the presentation. Come to that. Councillor Martin.
Thanks, Chair. Just wondering how many pothole repairs do we do in a certain small area before it becomes a full patch? Because, as I say, I know one in my ward now, it's like a patchwork quilt, and there is now another pothole just appeared there. So I was just wondering how long it is before it actually becomes a major repair.
Again, it depends. We'll certainly, if Charles will speak to you about the particular location. In the good old, bad old days, there used to be a rule of thumb that once the road got to a certain stage, then it would automatically surface. The quality of both our repairs and reinstatements has improved over the years, and we're currently looking, part of our review of road maintenance, at whether we stick with that traditional figure.
Thanks, Chair. Bill, we've still got a pothole hotline, am I right, for people reporting in? Is that gone? We used to have one in the 0800 number.
As with a number of departments, we had a variety of telephone numbers, but those are all replaced by the call centre. So, in the sense of we don't have a separate number, no, we don't have a pothole hotline, but any call to the call centre, the potholes are recorded in systems and passed on to us. So, in effect, it still exists, but not as a distinct, separate telephone.
Right, where I'm coming from is kind of the older road maintenance helpline number that used to be available through Scotland. You know, call it would be if there's a hole. So we've not got that dedicated line just now. That's what I'm getting at. And just in the back of that, and I'm not expecting an answer just now, but maybe someone can get back to us, is do we have any figures about how many calls we actually get from the public about potholes in the road? Or as opposed to the number of potholes we actually repair, which we're finding ourselves, which is a different statistic altogether.
I'll show you a chart in a few seconds that will actually tell you that. I think you might be referring to a system known as Clarence, which was started off in Fife, and Strathclyde had a similar but differently named system. We never had Clarence or its Strathclyde version yet. We had our own internal version of it, so there was no national system. There was a software system that was set up effectively in the east and the west. A number of authorities used that. We didn't.
Lot of items there on effective first-time permanent statement. One of the things that was brought up, I think is quite interesting, should be looking at it, is that vehicles or the men working have some way of, a bit like you do for the track, you know where you are, take a photograph of the actual done, and just rather than people going out and back on the road.
That's certainly something that we are looking at. My staff tend to refer it to a slab in the cab, mobile computing device, which would allow carriageway defects and other defects to be reported, and defect reports transmitted back, and for defects in the area that they are working to be notified through. Now, I understand that Policy and Resources is receiving a report on the Information Technology Capital Programme in the near future, and that programme includes a project to develop mobile and agile working. That's part of it.
That would make for a more. Anybody else on Councillor Diggle?
Can I just ask, when someone phones up and reports a pothole, do they still get issued with a reference number, or?
My understanding is yes, they get a software system is called Lagan. They get a reference number if they wish to take it. Some I do know only want to dump the problem on us and then walk away from it.
And the other thing that I thought was quite interesting was the road hierarchy from right, move on to number 4, a number of defects areas specific to Dumfries High Street, and I think you suggest council walk with appropriate officers. That will be dealt with. Reducing number 5, reducing revenue budget but increasing capital budget for the appropriate balance. So I think what's come out of this roads capital can't be used for. Is that right?
Yes. Effectively, we can only use capital for those things which add strength to the road or add structural life of the road. Revenue can be used on virtually anything, but capital is limited to those things which improve the asset. And yes, we look with our colleagues in Planning and Environment Services, we look at the whole funding available for roads as if it was one pot.
Next one is yes, ability to ensure Works Commission first are undertaken correctly, and quite a lot of problems for commissioning services. And I think what has been decided until that I think anyway, until that idea is, I think, yes, have their own way of how well it works. And I don't know whether they're going to do that.
I understand that there was a recommendation made at Planning, Housing and Environment to develop a quality performance framework, some monitoring of operations.
I think that's essential at such time as number 7, PH not involved in scrutiny of DGFirst performance. Any questions? Yes, sorry, Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, I was wanting in the last thing there. No, it's okay. I thought you asked me. I actually think this quality inspection is a must-do for PHES. Other services that are contracted through this department are monitored externally by others. This should be exactly the same. I don't think it's a good plan to have commission service monitoring. We should be actually forceful back to PHES and say, no, I don't think you should do it. I think we should be going back through council to say, yes, you will be doing it. And feed that back to the PHES committee. Because it's good enough for commissioning. The commissioner's not actually doing the quality control done.
Yeah, I think the committee should welcome this, how well they're doing.
That's why problem. That's fine. Number 7, not involved in scrutiny of DGFirst force, but any questions on that?
PHE asked for further in-depth report into the differences between the minimum and maximum reason for that. Could we get sight of that report as well? Because £60 external is the maximum, but that might be a lot more than just putting a top layer of tar on, whereas £9, don't know what that is for a minimum. An idea why the difference is.
Certainly it falls more within the remit of the DGFirst Management Committee to look at costing, like value for money, delivery, yes, about further information. It was very difficult at Planning, Housing and Environment because the appendix to their report, which contained values of scheme, didn't contain perhaps indications what the schemes actually were. So, for example, there was a comment that one scheme which was £200 a square metre, but that was a concrete staircase, didn't show up on.
From that, will we get that?
Thanks, Chair. Do we have an idea of the percentage of commissions that are actually with either DGFirst or with external? Is it 50-50, is it 60-40? Or I appreciate it might not be an easy answer today, but can we get that figure back?
Certainly, but if I could make one correction. There is one commission from Planning, Housing and Environment Services Committee, DGFirst. Our procurement, we do work both internally and using external subcontractors. Roughly, it was something like 29 internal schemes, 96 taken by. So a significant proportion of the work, particularly the additional monies we have received, is being done by subcontractors.
Thank you.
On to up again. Or works maybe externally. Work done. Leader.
Could I ask what evidence was given to say that Sederunt came at that meeting?
I wasn't present at Planning, Housing and Environment when that was said.
My understanding this is the report from the meeting between the chairs. What evidence came from? Take it would be the advice we need to actually.
The Director of Planning and Environment Services had taken a note of some of the comments that were made during previous Planning, Housing and Environment Services, and effectively we used that as the agenda for Chair and Vice Chair. No evidence.
A subjective view of that committee at the time rather than objective view. Rather, so in that case, if that's the case, that's probably an unfair comment.
Right, number 9, pothole repairs not being overseen. Quite right. Don't always do it that way, but people seem to think that unless you see a seal around a pothole.
Yes, certainly. I think when we show you the presentation, it's got a wee animation of permanent repair being undertaken. It is true that you don't always see seal on the surface. The edges of the pothole are sealed, and in actual fact, in the animation, shown with seal being done. But I think that particular comment is why the leader made the comment about Councillor White.
Final one is impact of resourcing trunk road works on delivery of local road works.
Certainly, it's a continuing theme. As members will know, we're currently in discussion with Scotland Transerve for the new trunk road operating company, and it is beginning to look like we will have a distinct workforce that concentrates on trunk road work rather than local road work. So there will be, in that instance, no impact on local roads of undertaking trunk road.
Can I ask what that actually means? I mean, does that mean you're going to have less roadmen or you're going to have more roadmen?
It looks like we're going to have to increase the level of staff, and not just roadmen, but discussions at a relatively early stage.
But I presume that will come back to us.
We intend giving you a briefing on the new contract arrangements when they are firmed up.
I just have one more thing.
Yes, we had planned internally to undertake a number of roadshows to introduce members to the new equipment that we have. We're now planning that for March. It had intended that it would be the end of this month, but had a wave of flu through the department and arrangements somewhat.
I think that would be quite useful. Councillor Diggle.
Sorry, just quickly, we touched on it at the HE meeting that you had a dedicated workforce for the trunk roads during the winter. What do they do during the summer?
Chair, we have a, you want to call it a mixed economy workforce just now, which we have roads operatives that can be working on trunk roads and can be working on regional roads. That has been in place since the past 11, 12 years that we've worked within the highway. So we have employees, pool of people working on roads, and if we need them on trunk roads, we will utilise, and if we need them on local roads. The intention that we're looking at for the potential of the new Transerve contract is to have a small nucleus of staff there dedicated to the trunk road activities, primarily basing the numbers around the winter operations and then allowing them to go into other activities, all the cyclical activities that you normally see on roads, grass cutting, sign repair, etc., etc. So as it stands just now, we have one pot of resource that shared between two activities to maximise business activity, but under the new arrangements, we're looking at slightly different.
To do with item 10, now in the PH&E report, there was reference to the audit report on road maintenance. And one of the recommendations, I think it was 3.3, was that we should be going out and looking to do more partnership working to enhance the resources available to us. Could the director give his view on what that means? My view is we should be looking at contracts out there when we can work with the private sector. The other view that's been held is the partnership should be more work going to the private sector. Just clarify for me what that statement actually meant.
Yes, Leader, if I could take us all back a step. The reference was to an audit that was undertaken, follow-up work by Audit Scotland to a follow-up report called Maintaining Scotland's Roads. In the second of the Audit Scotland report, there was very much a view that shared services and partnership working was the way forward. That, I think, was particularly informed by the situation in England, where a number of councils have opted to join in with their equivalent of the trunk road operating contracts. I have to say, slightly tongue-in-cheek, I don't think we could afford to pay trunk road rates for the work that's undertaken. I think it's a whole range of shared service arrangements, market, competing in the market for additional work, and perhaps working in partnership with private organisations to deliver road maintenance.
We've got it. Program work in practice. 2.3, the proposal next instruction. That
In effect, members, sorry, I will have to go and log in because I'm the one that's logged in. My apologies. In effect, members, this is a PowerPoint of some of the information that was discussed at the chairs and vice chairs. This is our latest set of carriageway defect repair performance. This is one of the KPIs in business plan. You can see after a slightly shaky start when we had just introduced first-time permanent working in April, we have had a relatively good performance, not stunningly good, and it is variable, very weather dependent, in fact. This shows the number of, or the percentage breakdown of the number of defects. Category 1 are the most serious, and category 2 is all the rest. I think it's interesting to see the purple on the screen, the bluey purple, which is the number of potholes that are fixed by the crews while they are out that have not been reported by the public. So there's a significant number of defects that are repaired by the squads finding and fixing. I think this goes back to Councillor Ferguson's question about how many we find and how many are reported. About a third come from members of the public, just over half come from safety inspections, and as I said, a chunk comes from find and fix. Going back to Councillor Thompson's question about the risk-based prioritisation, we look at the potential impact of the defect and the probability of that impact happening, and a combination of those in what's shown here as Table A gives us the reaction period that we use. So the most serious category of defect would be a category 1. Those are repaired within 2 days. Working down, 2As are repaired within 5 working days, 2Bs within 28 days, and 2C is where, in effect, we think it's not worth doing a repair at this point. It's not significant, so we will keep an eye on that defect, go back and I hope, Councillor Thompson, that gives you a better idea of what we do. The repair response, or the actual categorisation. Right, category 1, which is the most serious defect, will be repaired within 2 days. Cat 2A is the next category, and that's within 5 working days. Category 2B is, in effect, within a month. And 2C is we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens. It's very difficult to categorise individual defects because part of the categorisation has to be where the defect actually is. So a small defect outside the offices of the Royal National Institute for the Blind would be treated as more serious than that same defect occurring on a back road in the middle of nowhere. Really a slide to show that we do have a process. We are taking a much more planned and coordinated approach to carriageway defect repairs. Won't bother too much with that next. This is taking us through from finding the defect to cutting it out, and there you see the edge sealing that we mean by edge sealing, which creates a bond between the existing material and new material. Materials then placed and compacted, and in this case, because of the nature of the material, a seal is placed around it. That's the process of first-time permanent repair. Next. Well, Chair made reference to new signs. There are 2 of them. They look very similar. The next slide. Effectively, what we became aware of was that for areas that were bigger than the patching squad could deal with there and then, or for certain circumstances at the end of a working day when the job couldn't be finished, people saw temporary repair being done and thought that was all that was going to happen. What we've decided to do to combat that effect is stick up a sign saying, in effect, we'll be back to fix it. So it's getting over this quite widely held opinion that temporary repair is all we were ever going to do, whereas temporary repair is to make it safe. And that's the end of the presentation.
some of the concerns that have been raised, certainly in the Annandale area, Estill area, was, you know, when you cut out initially, Bill, it may be a couple of days before they come back in and tar it. However, that isn't signposted as a, you know, an awareness to drivers. Now, that's only some of the areas within Annandale. Not all of them. So, for instance, in some areas, cones will be placed in the initial cut before they actually fill in.
There really shouldn't be much of a separation between cutting out and replacing. It should be done same day. I can't comment about specifics. If you have specifics, then Charles will take a note.
I'm sure the leader will tell his colleague in PHES chair about the Brightcirk Road.
We spoke to the Chair of Planning, Housing and Environment Services after the committee.
That's the end of our agenda today, but I have, as I said, 2 extra items on. So the first one is it's really arising out of the current interest in what's now all important, and I think there has been some concern regarding school meals and possibly meals on wheels as well, and I just thought we ought to have an update on where DGFirst were with regard to school meals. So we have Kate MacLeod and Alan Morse.
Just like to introduce this item. Chair asked me to do an update on horse meat and other things. I've taken the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about school meals than you probably want to know, but it was an opportunity.
Thanks, Chair. I think before that kicks off, there's 2 sides to this presentation today. One is that it was asked to do this a period of time ago and prepared it for school meals. And obviously we've been slightly overshadowed in the last 2 weeks with some of the issues with horse meat. So the presentation itself covers school meals. But what I'd like to do is just give a verbal update on the horse meat issue, if members and Chair, if that's okay with yourself. Yeah. Basically, we did issue a statement out, I think it was last week, with the effect of where we sit within the horse meat issue at the moment, and that really hasn't changed much. And I'll just read that back out, the first statement of that just gives clarity on where we still stand. Since the concerns were first raised in relation to the authenticity of meat used in processed food products in mid-January, Facilities Management under the Dumfries and Galloway Council has been in close communication with all our food suppliers. We've had confirmation from and received statements from all our suppliers indicating that they have not been in any effect with the ongoing issue in any abattoirs or companies known to be affected with the current crisis. We've also issued that out to the call centres yesterday as well, because we're starting to get some public comment on that. And that really hasn't changed, but what we would like to say is that things are going to start coming out of the woodwork, as we can see in the news on a daily basis. So whether that stance is the same as it is at the moment, I'm more than confident that that's where we are. What I would like to just add to that, as far as to Chair and members, is that all our food comes from the national contract from Scotland Excel or Pioneer, which is a tendered contract that we put out 2 years ago. And there was a question raised yesterday, I think it was, based on Meals on Wheels to the elderly as an example. Now, we've gave clarity to social services and the WRVS as well as where we stand with that. Our Meals on Wheels produce is produced the same system as it is for school meals, so we're completely confident in that. Yeah, that we're as confident as we can be. The luxury that certainly, I think, and we'll see this as part of the presentation, and I'll certainly revert back to it as time goes on, is that the produce that we do use in schools, we use very little manufactured produce in there now, and you'll see the theme of that with food costs and stuff as we're going through the presentation. But just to reassure members, as I say, we're in a very good position. We don't buy any prepared meals at all within school meals. Meals on Wheels, the provision that we provide is no prepared meals coming in. You'll see the cottage pie issues and the lasagnas. We don't
buy any of that produce in at all. Just for a bit of clarity, Meals on Wheels, WRVS do buy in, I think it's from El Petito. That issue is completely removed from DGFirst and the Council's issue, and I don't know what, I can't make comment on that. That would need to come from WRVS. Is there any questions on that issue before we move on to the school meals presentation?
Can I just ask, do we test our own raw product?
We've got no reason to test. Based on the national contract, Chair, then Scotland Excel are doing that for us, and they're doing independent testing. There was a statement made yesterday that an independent test out with the national contract had proved positive. Nothing that Dumfries and Galloway purchase are hastening to add at the moment, but we're doing further investigation on that. But I think that should reassure Dumfries and Galloway that, you know, Scotland Excel are doing independent testing on that. We've also asked Pioneer Foods to give us clarity, and they've asked for additional testing to be done in their project.
Are the likes of Pioneer and everything, do they supply you with data given traceability and source of meat?
Yeah, I think it's ACR accredited, and I've spoke to Environmental Health Services, Leslie Payton, who has given me clarity that if there's any issues arise locally through the Pioneer link, then they'll feed directly back to ourselves to feed to members. So we're more than happy that the Food Standard Agency are looking at huge meat manufacturing processes. At the moment, they don't see that as being Pioneer.
So can I ask at the moment where currently most of our meat coming from?
Yeah, certainly the most of our meat, as we would class as raw product, comes from Pioneer Foods. With the national contract, it'll accommodate all our frozen produce. Any what you would class as fresh meat, prime cut, comes from Pioneer.
Sorry, I'm looking for a geographical answer.
All the beef that Pioneer produces, we're guaranteed 90% lakeside beef. The other 10% would be Scottish if they need to map into that market. Lakeside beef, Cumbrian beef.
I take it the tests are fairly comprehensive, as well as checking out the meat source it's actually doing.
Yeah, the tests themselves do the DNA test based on the look for cross-contamination on pig against the beef, lamb against the beef, and hunt horses now included that. That side would come from the Food Standards Agency and the Environmental Health. That's why we've tapped into them, Councillor, to make sure that if necessary, then we would do. We actually asked for advice if we should be doing independent testing as a region, and the advice from Environmental Health through the Food Standards Agency is no, there's no need for that. Also, we'll be very lucky to get an independent laboratory because the government has sanctioned.
Thanks, yeah. I hear what you're saying about WRVS, but some of our day centres actually deliver Meals on Wheels, and well, have we done some checking on that?
The only meals we provide, as far as we are concerned, is the food that's produced out of the school contract and the menu that's set up. The rest of the meals is not within the facilities management contract.
Yes, thanks. Thanks, Chair. Bill, with your leave, I'm actually wondering if there's capacity for the officer to come to Thursday's social work meeting as an AOCB item. Yeah. A brief report, just similar report to this, to allay any fears within the social work committee.
I'm sure that could be arranged. There is the one caveat, which is that, as Alan has said, we can only really speak for the DGFirst provided meals.
Right, okay, I'll take that advisory and I'll speak to you afterwards. Yep.
Thank you for that.
Thanks, Chair. Okay, members, just quick introduction. My Alan Mawson, Service Manager of Facilities Management. Doesn't just cover catering, also covers responsible for cleaning, janitors, playground supervision, public toilets and crossing patrols within the facilities management remit. Been asked today to give a short presentation on school meals whilst raising awareness of the real cost of providing a meal. Bit of background first, for them that's not familiar, I'm sure some are. 103 primary schools that we've got, and a relevant point I wanted to make to that kicking off was that there's 46 of them primary schools with a school roll less than 50, of which 22 are below a school roll of 30. I think that'll become more relevant as we kick on. 16 and another additional 16 secondary schools that we've got. And we've put them up separately because we do deem them as separate businesses. They're totally separate markets that we've got.
with the primary being concentrating on the parent more predominantly as they choose the meal, and in secondary we try to work with the parent as well as the customer as well as the people themselves. Approximately 320 catering staff, give or take the flu epidemic that's kicking about on a daily basis, and we provide approximately 1.8 million meals a year. So probably certainly puts us in the category of being the biggest catering provider within this authority. So how well are we doing? A little bit of stats there, I think. I think it's worthwhile mentioning if you can read them, that we've got from 2007, as you can see, certainly a slight dip, but certainly pretty consistent in growth, as you can see, with nearly the 59% uptake that we've got in the last year's census, completing this year's in beginning of March. So certainly you can see we've had a consistent growth there, and significantly, we're now sitting pretty high against the dark blue, which is the Scotland statistics on an average. Just for members' information, we actually sit 9th in Scotland now in the league table out of 32 as far as uptake. So in secondary schools, how well are we doing there? I'm sure some members still remember the poor performing years that we've had, and that's clear within the 2009-10 figures that certainly that show how we were struggling at that time. And it's worth mentioning in 2010, I think we're sitting at 28th within the 32 league authorities, the councils, 32 authorities. Sitting now, moving up towards 47% after a lot of changes within that service, and indicate now that last year's figure showed us 13th within the 32 authorities. Significant progression. So what's the cost of a school meal? I'm sure if some of you, if not all of you, will be familiar with. We currently charge £1.70 for a primary meal, with agreement at Education Committee through the Commission that we're moving to £1.75 from April. And in secondary, currently £1.80, we're moving to £1.85 for a meal deal option in April as well. Worthwhile mentioning there, it's almost 3 years since we had a price increase. We've absorbed that and the additional food costs along with that so far. As we'll see the slides go on, probably evidence in it needed. Very simple one. What is the food cost? On average, the food cost is 50% of the selling price. So in secondary, we'll look at not spending any more than 90p on a meal. Yeah, that does peak and trough depending on the menu item that's on that day. But as a general rule, we try to look at 50% of food cost that we've got in that. And I think when we look at that, certainly with my background being private sector and coming into local authority, we would say gross profit food cost 50%. Generally not bad from where we sit. What we would like to make comment on that, and reverting back to the beginning of the presentation on the horse meat issue, is that good quality, hand prepared, cooked food on site, got a price to it. So we should be reassured in the issues that we've got. That we're comfortable with the current issue of horse meat is that we do produce on site. Now, yes, we've got 30 serveries there, but they're still produced on site in our own kitchens with wholesome food, hand cooked and then transported. It's not bought in transported, it's just transported hot from that production kitchen. So it's worthwhile, just as I say, 90p, some would maybe, in the private sector, we would be looking probably 60-70% gross profit, 30-35% food cost, but certainly when we look at the legislation that we're driven towards, 50% isn't bad. So the real cost to our council, an interesting slide, I'm sure, and we'll take some questions at the end on any of these. It's the real cost to the council is approximately £2.87, and that's inclusive of £1.12 subsidy that you'll be aware of that we receive from education under the Commission. That average is taken based on the 170, 180 as our 175 plus the £1.12, which gives us the £2.87 that we've got on that. And I think it's revert back to the first slide that we had based on the smaller schools that we mentioned in the school rules below 50 and then below 30, is that subsidy is a generalistic figure based on all schools. It's worthwhile just raising it to members is that in the small rural schools, that can be £20-25 per meal subsidy based on the fact that maybe we're only feeding 9 or 10 kids within that school. The spin side of that is the larger schools, the well-performing schools, the schools that have a whole school approach and they're doing extremely well, probably can touch maybe subsidy of 10 or 15p, very close to breaking the even bank that we've got. So it's a generalistic figure that we've got based on, but that school meal in average would cost £2.87. The running costs that we've got on that, food costs are approximately 1.7 million a year that we'll pick up on. Staff costs approximately 3 million. We generate roughly £2.5 million worth of income away from that just through cash paying customers, which is huge to us.
Meals on Wheels provide us about £100,000 a year additional income on top of that, and then the rest met with just over the 3 million as far as the subsidy from education that accommodates the subsidy. So the challenges ahead, obviously, everybody's aware of the food costs that we've got, and we've been absorbing them over the last 2 years without asking for additional funding, but it's starting to impact on us certainly this year. As indicated earlier, we're looking at a price increase that should hopefully help us absorb. The links, the links are all there. No matter what commodity seems to get hit, then it's got an impact on us, whether it's through the wheat, through the feeding of the chickens or the beef. There's an impact on us across all commodities now that we can see, and significantly the early warnings are in this year for root vegetables due to the poor weather conditions that we've got. Price of potatoes is an example. We'll even be able to get potatoes with one of the quotes from the suppliers in the next 6 months. Current supplies are poor, and this year's crops can't even get into the ground. So we've got huge challenges ahead with the food cost that we've got to try and balance the figures that we've got. Just some very quick to show you some very significant information there as far as what the increases could potentially be. We're probably looking, based on them, of somewhere between the 6 and 8% price increase on our budget next financial year. We've probably hit about 6% this year. So somewhere between the 140k is going to need to be additional funding found. The price increase should hopefully absorb approximately between 80 and 100,000 pounds of that, with potential of how we're going to then find the rest without going back to commission. How do we meet the additional costs? The next slide. Goes without saying, I think we're looking at this then, the slides have indicated. We need to increase uptake. I think it's well worth mentioning. We look at them slides, we're getting very close to saturation point of where we see we are, and that's not down to the limitations of us as a provider. That's down to the limitations of dining room capacity, etc. And some parents just never got 100%. Couldn't probably cope with 100%. To be perfectly honest. But we'll look at driving forward with that. The figure that we're setting the targets for the team is, I remember 3 years ago we set the figure of let's feed more than we're not feeding, which was 50%. We've surpassed that, and it's been a great motivational factor for catering managers and the management team as well, that figure that we've got. So now we've moved it to 60% there, looking at trying to keep them motivated on that. So increase uptake, key as far as how we're going to meet the additional costs. Become more efficient. I think this comes back to, we'll touch on a bit more on it in the next slide, is setting performance indicators, but performance indicators at catering manager level that are relevant to them. So we've made them very simplistic for them, and that's just been meals per hour in primary schools. Secondaries work slightly different, so it's pounds per hour, so out of how many hours they've got, how many meals an hour they've got. And you've used APSI national statistics on to try and set benchmarks on that. So we've become more efficient, and we can certainly see that this year. We're looking at certainly not increasing our staff costs, but we've looked at increasing uptake. Increased price of school meals, well, that's obviously one, how we would meet the additional cost, but we've already implemented that for this year, and it's within the power of us as a deliverer next year within the commission, if we wish to then invoke that next year as well. And last but not least, in the basis that we can't meet the target of the additional food cost coming, additional funding, which has been raised corporately and aware of the issues, the evidence trail of food cost is well evident. We get updates from all current suppliers as well as the national supplier on evidence trails of why we're getting pricing. So what we're currently doing, just around the houses and where we are with this, I'm going to give a small selection. We've got approximately 40 projects on within the team plan for next financial year, but obviously we're not going to go through all of them today. But the key ones that we think is relevant for today is we just completed a 3rd annual catering manager training day. That was last Tuesday, a week today, of which we had an attendance of 87 staff members within Cargan Towers Lecture Theatre. And that was to deliver team plan training to them, and really to thank them and congratulate them on how well that we've been doing collectively from bottom to top. That's our 3rd one. It's going really well, and they're actually starting to look towards and look forward to that training day that they've got. We did a survey on that, and we had 93% that said the course was good or excellent on that day, with 100% saying they would use the skills learned to take back to their unit. So we've done that. That sets us up for next financial year. We're increasing uptake, as we've shown. How are we doing that? Increasing theme days, opening a new kitchen, Dumfries Academy, which is a new concept kitchen, total new design that we're trying to do in there. We can take any questions on that. Really excited about that. It's competing with the high street as the kind of scenario in there. Rolling out mobile snack vans. They'll roll out sometime after Easter. We've got 3 of them in. And they were actually used in Operation Alto very successfully for them that's aware of that exercise. So they're an absolute fantastic asset for the council. Promoting school meal services, as in WeDG, which is our mascot. And I've got a couple of pictures just to give you a familiarisation with that. That's a bit of light-heartedness for today. Providing all pupils with free meals, we're currently doing that, and we're sitting about 83% uptake in P1 uptake, so that's nationally probably the best figure that could be expected even in the pilots that happened 3 years ago. Improving in productivity, as we say, we've set meals per hour targets. And we're piloting online payment systems for them that was familiar with doing that at Dumfries High School. We're also doing it at Annan now as well, to try and get parents to pay online using new technology, which will hopefully then lead on to keeping them in the school and using the cashless catering systems that we've got. Just a visual, WeDG that we've got. This guy's out and about quite a lot within the schools and is well received. Kids love him, and I would hasten to add education love him as well. But you know, we've got him in the community as well. So he was out doing the Olympic torch ceremonies, and the community seemed to love him, and actually overshadowed leisure sports. Wee Pingu, I think they call him. So he's doing well. As I say, a bit of lightheartedness. So the way forward. What we've done, we've just went through the PSIF, Finance Public Service Improvement Framework last year that the council has signed up to, and certainly the PSIF highlighted areas of development that have assisted with facilities management, giving it a more structured way forward. Team plans, they've given our service a clear documented direction. Facilities team plan is at front line level for the catering managers, etc., cleaning supervisors. It's a very, very basic but meaningful to our frontline staff. And action plans are part of that, which is a one sheet that they need to fill out once a year to say what they plan each unit, working along with the school as a whole school approach. They've gotten that. The management teams, obviously, the action plans and team plans are more focused on projects and actually improving and delivering the service, and that's the snack vans, theme days, Health Week menus, and all the stuff. What we're trying to do now is link in with the curriculum of excellence to try and get that link with education. The staff and customer surveys, at the moment we're looking at expanding on them this year, and there's a meeting taking place at the moment, one of my colleagues at the moment looking at getting surveys online, and we're also doing staff surveys with part of our PDRs, our performance and development reviews. We're going to put that in as part of that, so we know that we'll get pretty much good turnout in that, so we'll use that feedback as part of the team plans for next year, how we see the way forward. And that's the end of the presentation for me, Chair. Take any questions, please.
Thanks very much. It's been interesting. It's good to have an update. Right. And I'm glad in the uptake. Can I just ask you, regards, you know, I understand that there's 5, but should there be a problem with cost of food? And you had a thing up there, funding. Okay.
Chair, if I may, corporately, the council has contingency funds for energy inflation, and those would be drawn on as we demonstrate need. There would be the cost.
Increased uptake. Therefore, we're needing to buy more food, higher cost. We'll have more meals that require subsidy. How does that equate to be more efficient if the uptake is in rural areas where it's 25 quid a head subsidy rather than 15 pence? And the other one, is it 2 or 3 years we've been running the P1 scheme? What's the progress going onwards? Still, are we seeing that actually P1 is actually dividends we are getting healthy food there.
Yeah, Chair. Just two questions. The uptake figure, I mean, what we would see is that we would look at them being intrinsically linked. So, I mean, if we can increase uptake in the schools that are very small, you know, the subsidy's got to be very, it's not going to impact on it significantly. But what we do see is if we can increase on the school meal uptakes and them that are higher. So if we've got a school roll of 300 and uptake's only 40%, then we don't, the capacity within there we would find, linking back to the meals per hour, is that the productivity, there would be no more hours issued within that school, so that the subsidy wouldn't be increased. The subsidy would be decreased based on the fact we would have more generation of cash income coming in, because there would be no more expenditure going out. Yes, the food cost would be there, but we would still have more for every, if we use the 180 scenario, we would have another 90 pence coming in against no more additional cost of staff cost, which is another overhead. So where the significant factor there is that the small school roles that we've got are always going to hold a significant subsidy away from, because the school roles never got to increase enough to get.
Yeah, but surely if your 90 pence is then going to be 95 pence because you've got an 8% increase in the food cost, because that's what we're aiming at, the 90 food cost, there's got to be fewer 90p profits, there'll be 85p profits across more.
I understand what you're saying, Leader, but I think what Mr. Mawson was trying to say is that the actual costs, the overhead costs of actually staff, the kitchen, etc., remain constant. The food costs go up, but we're getting more income in, so the food costs are only half of the cost of preparation. Sorry. So increasing uptake does overall reduce or profit, subsidy, whichever way around. And you can see that in the revenue monitoring example, as the level of subsidy is. It might be easier if you had a session with Mr. Mawson. He can go into more detail.
Thanks, Chair. I mean, I think the facilities management should be congratulated on certainly the increase in uptake of school meals since 2010, where we were in a bit of a quagmire. I'm just looking at this, the information you're using for PDRs, and I'm just wondering if that learning is actually going across DGFirst bill, where we've seen an increase in, potentially when you look at that side of things, staff morale, increased activity, efficiency, productivity.
I think it's fair to say in the services which were early adopters of the PR process, there were some delays in some sorts. We have seen an improvement in staff.
Thanks, Chair. Chair Archie's congratulations, I think, really, in getting it up to where we are. Just a couple of things. I appreciate the economy of scale thing, and you know, increasing the uptake effectively increases the GP because you're getting more and you're reducing waste, and I can understand that. The question, a couple of things. You've got the true cost that you're mentioning here, £2.87. That's based on your GPA 50%, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Yeah, Chair, but the £2.87 it'll be based on, well, the school meal cost is on an average £1.75, plus we've averaged it out at another additional £1.12 per meal onto that £1.75. So there'll still be 90 pence of that coming out for food costs.
I think that's where I'm coming from. So that figure's been sort of calculated across the whole school service as opposed to individual schools, and you've balanced it out.
Yes.
Yeah, averaged it out. Yeah.
Sorry, yes, it has.
Yeah, that's okay. So, and the one other area where you would affect your GP, increase it, would be actually waste reduction. Now, whilst I appreciate you're not a restaurant that's open from 6 in the morning till 6 at night, for example, most of the business in schools is in between that 1 hour window. How do we keep the waste to a minimum?
Yeah, well, we've done that in twofold. Primary, ultimately, we've rolled out pre-order system that we do now, and that's how one of the reasons why we've managed to absorb no additional, we haven't increased any selling price of school meals the last 2 years. We put out pre-order, which reduced our food cost, say that we've done that, so we managed to save that in year one. In secondary, we're rolling that out currently at the moment into pre-order as well. So the Douglas Ute, as an example, who's set the standard, take about 90 pre-orders at morning break. So we know exactly what 90 of them customers are having, and we're rolling. That's been rolled. That's about 6 out of the 16 that's doing that, with potential of rolling it out to 16. So hoping to absorb as much of that additional food cost as we can without wastage.
Thank you.
Along. Be interesting. There's been a little dip of uptake this week, but last long. I just have one final update. Dennis is going to do that on the impact of police and fire.
Thank you, Chair. Just a very brief update for the members in relation to the move towards the police and fire new authorities. Members will be aware that there was a substantial amount of business that DGFirst carried out for both police and fire, maintenance to buildings and to vehicles, particularly in relation to the fire service. In light of the move to the new police and fire authorities, we have been in discussions with colleagues in police and fire to look at how DGFirst can provide a one-stop shop, for the want of a term, for retaining and maintaining these services that we have with them. These negotiations and discussions are going particularly well at this time. We are in the process just now of exchanging draft service level agreements to police and fire in relation to property maintenance. This will mean that as a point of contact, DGFirst will provide the vast majority, if not all, the previous services that have been delivered to police and fire from Dumfries and Galloway Council. Your reactive maintenance and down to the legislative activities, the current contracts that the council has for such things as Legionella. With regards to the vehicle maintenance, we're in a similar process at this time. The new fire authority has made it clear that they will require a once-a-year service to be taken out with Dumfries and Galloway to their facilities in the central belt, but we have provided them with a schedule of pricing and rates that seem to have been greeted with some favour, and we're in the process as well of concluding that, so that the majority of all the other maintenance activities on their fire appliances and small equipment will be retained within Dumfries and Galloway, and we are looking at other options and other available business that may come from neighbouring authorities, from just very close, your Cumnocks, etc., who may come down into Dumfries and Galloway to allow these vehicles to be serviced. So it's just an update, members. Happy to take any questions of where we are, but it certainly is looking very positive.
Draft services that not completed yet will be by the 1st. And also just wondered time.
Currently it's a draft on the basis that the new authorities are still sorting out the people they have to sign off these documents. So we're handing them over to ensure that they are robust. They've been passed our legal people as well, and our procurement teams, to ensure that the council is not exposed in any way. They're wishing to do likewise from themselves. Timescales, we are looking initially for periods of 18 months. There are termination clauses within the contracts, service level agreements that give us some surety as well. and it also allows us the opportunity to price and tender for other major projects as and when they come along from the new authorities.
So are you being proactive?
In simple terms, Chair, yes. We have set out our stall to, particularly the fire service, in relation to high-class workshop facilities we have across the region. I think it's fair to say they have been very impressed with what Dumfries and Galloway can deliver. I think we probably have the best facilities across the whole of Scotland, and that is certainly one of the drivers towards us being considered for other activity and other works that are bounding our authority.
That's certainly good news for Dumfries and Galloway, and obviously the more we can retain in Dumfries and Galloway, the better it is for our members of staff. And just on that particular point, is there any sort of knock-on effect to members of staff? Obviously, if there's more work comes in from this one force, it may mean an increase in staff and how quickly we can get them, or it actually mean the opposite. If we do lose some work, we may actually lose staff.
The implications are that it will maintain and support the existing complement of workforce that we have within Dumfries and Galloway. It is also giving extra credence to the introduction of 5, 6 modern apprentices that we're bringing into vehicle maintenance just now. We're going through that process just now. So again, that just gives us additional capacity that we will grow our own and develop these people as we go through the apprenticeship period.
I think if I could just comment on that. The original thoughts for the new fire and rescue, all vehicle maintenance, placing all of our efforts. And we reckon that it's about 12% maintenance. So we've managed to persuade them that our rates are more than competitive, but the majority of the routine work. So it's a significant shift in their position.
Thanks, Chair. Community wardens come under your remit as well, part of this whole process? No?
Sorry, I'm being slightly pedantic. There are community safety enforcement officers and
sorry.
community safety officers. And yes, the community safety service does fall within DGFirst.
Sorry, I'll stand corrected, but you know what I meant. Thanks, Bill. Right, absolutely. What I'm particularly keen to ask and to seek some clarity on is the relationship actually between the new police service and the community wardens, because there is a danger here. There's a crossover in roles where they would still maintain certain powers to do certain things that are also doable by the new, whatever you call them, your staff. And actually I suppose what I'm getting at here, Bill, is we need to be absolutely very careful that they actually don't become free police. And given the new Chief Constable's very open statement that he wants people to work for nothing before they're considered to be policemen after that, I think he's looking at any way he can cut his budget. And I actually think we could do with some clarity on the communication routes and that between the new modern police service and our community safety team, for lack of a better word.
That's actually quite difficult to brief you on now, because the Scottish Police Service doesn't come into being until the 1st of April. I think what I could say is that as my community safety manager, the police inspector on secondment from the police service, they work very closely. We share the costs of one of the police analysts to help us with tasking community safety. So currently, there is a very close working relationship between community safety and Dumfries and Galloway Constabulary. I understand that the new Chief Constable has made certain statements, but I think, to be honest, it's too early to say what that means for Dumfries and Galloway. But it would be our intention that once the new service is formally launched, after a period of time of operation, we review those operations and report back to the
Thank you. I think if just clarification that you're actually on the case of the excuse the fund is enough for me at this moment in time. So it's a moving feast. I can appreciate that.
But I think we would want an update.
Chair, I think the good point about the Scottish Police Force is that we've got Kate Thompson, who's going to be the officer down in this area, and she's worked with our sort of remits in the past, and I think that she's quite clear on where community safety officers and enforcement officers actually sit. So I think that's a positive part of that particular move. But I think that the new chief constable, of course, is building his own enemies. He'll not be there for long anyway.
That's happy note. I'd just like to say that I'm very pleased that we've had this update, and I'm very pleased it's possible